Hi, I'm Ed Parcaut, your host of Inner Edison. What I'd like you to take away from today's show is your greatest growth comes from our greatest failures. Today's guest is Aleric Heck. Let's get to know him and his story, but I think he's going to help you. I know he knows a lot about about YouTube and about ads, and he's going to help us on this journey with that. But you need to really listen to this episode because he's got a lot of knowledge, and he's going to give it to us. So please sit back and enjoy. Thank you so much for being here today, Aleric.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on, Ed. I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah. And if you don't know, he doesn't have a high caliber of energy. He's really low key. Right. And that's great because that you come across great that way. A lot of people go, "Hi, this is how you do." Right. And you don't want that on a podcast. You want to have conversation and go back and forth, not just sit there and listen to one person talk all the time. And I might interrupt you and I apologize, but it's sometimes you'll say something. I want to stop right there, go more in depth on that, and then we'll come back. Okay. So how did you get, please don't take us wrong. We normally don't say age, but you're 24. You've been doing this for 12 years. So you started when you were 12. Though, and we were talking about this off air. There is so much different today with technology and stuff that's out there to help you in business than we had 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago. But sometimes it could be a detriment because there's so much out there. You can just go, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to do this. There's so much social media. There's so much YouTube now is like a search engine. Now you have Google, you have all these different things. And I'll shut up in a second here. But how do you get through all that? And how did you get into YouTube?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm happy to talk about kind of the whole journey. The interesting thing, especially you talk about, inner Edison, right? How it's kind of some things that you might perceive as failures. And I like to call those learning lessons turn into massive positives. I don't think I've actually, because I've done several, a bunch of podcasts, interviews and things. I don't think I've ever talked about going one step even before starting my YouTube channel, which I started when I was 12, and that kind of snowballed into, the business that I have today, Ad Outreach, where I help, businesses with YouTube ads get consistent leads and sales. But, going back to that creation of the YouTube channel, I can actually go one more step that I don't usually talk about on interviews like this, but I think it's really relevant here. Is when I was 12 years old, I was really into acting. I'd taken acting classes for a few years. I was also filming videos with my brother and some friends, with my Sony Handycam, going around and filming videos. And I was almost cast for a TV show in Boston. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts, out in Austin, Texas now. But I was out there, and I almost got cast for a TV show when I was 12. It was actually down to the final round. I got invited back to 3 or 4 callback interviews, and it was between me and another person. And I ended up not making it. It was about a 50-50 shot. They were going to cast 6 people, and for this type of show, and I was one of 12 finalists interviewing, and I didn't end up getting it. And obviously at the time I was disappointed. But it turned out to be a massive, massive blessing, because what I did that summer when I was 12 is I had just gotten the first iteration, not even iPhone, but the first iPod Touch, the one that came out, right? And, after the iPod Nano, when they had the iPod Touch, obviously, iPhone and stuff like that, I had just gotten that. And this was 12 years ago. And I created a YouTube channel that summer that I would have been, filming, a TV show in. I actually created a YouTube channel called App Find, where I was reviewing mobile apps, technology tutorials. I was teaching people how to use their iPod Touch or their iPhone. I was showing them the best apps and best mobile games. And this was the very beginning of the App Store. Like, the App Store was literally just invented at that point, right? And you obviously had the pre-built apps that were installed, but then there was, all of a sudden there was these developers that could create all kinds of apps, and it was a whole new world. And I was showing my friends the apps that I had installed on my phone and the cool things I could do, the utility apps, the games that I was playing. And again, I was 12 years old at the time. And I started to post those videos on YouTube. And again, it's one of those things, right, where, it can, something that maybe you don't get can turn into a massive, set the ball in motion for something incredible. I started to build that up on YouTube, and just, that was the early days of YouTube, right? With standard definition videos. It was a star rating system, video responses, back in 2009. And I started posting content very regularly on the YouTube channel. And all of a sudden, I was gaining traction. And so for honestly a few years, I was posting, videos every week or a couple times a week on my YouTube channel, showing people how to do various things with their iPhone or iPod Touch. And then it became iPhone. Once I got an iPhone, things like that. And it started to take off, started to snowball, get more and more successful. Next thing you know, I ended up like with 100,000 subscribers, right? Thousands and then hundreds of thousands of subscribers, millions of views. People were watching the videos, and I started to get all kinds of different sponsors and app developers and people and tech products reach out to the channel to, talk about their products, talk about their apps, talk about the things that they have. And I was getting more and more of these, and I was starting to promote more and more on my YouTube channel. And that's when it really clicked that, wait a second, this was a business. And so, about 6-7 years ago, and I'm just kind of going through like the story that I kind of had, what got me to this point. So I was building up that YouTube channel. Today, the channel has, a little more than 500,000 subscribers. I still have a small team that manages it. Obviously, that's, not my main business anymore. But about 7 years ago now, when I was had just a freshman in college, right? I just gotten into college, graduated from high school, had my YouTube channel. I was using my YouTube channel to pay for college, pay off my pay for my college education. And I said, I want to do something more. And so I remember one day there was one social media networking app that had hired us for a video on AppFind. We posted a video. They got thousands of downloads. They got lots of views, tens of thousands of views. People, lots of comments. People were loving it. They loved the promotion. I said, this is great. They paid me to post a video. They said, can we pay you again to post that same video tomorrow? Like repost the same video I posted a couple days ago tomorrow, and they wanted to get the same amount of results. And I had to tell them, we both know that that's not actually going to happen. You can't just post the same thing twice and repeat the results. This is organic. This is, you can't, have me, on your podcast next week again. And, so it's like one of those things, right? It's organic. But what if we take this video that we already did, and we already put it on AppFind, we take this video and we run it as an ad, and we reach people that haven't seen the video yet, but they're similar to the types of people that have already seen it. Now, this was 7 years ago. At the time, the only people running YouTube ads were Geico and Ford and, some of the like big brands, right? And this was kind of the early days of self-service YouTube ads, right? Where you didn't need to be a big, ad agency in New York to purchase ads from YouTube, where you can actually create, your own through Google ads and, obviously Google owning YouTube. And so what I started doing was I said, okay, well, what if we could do is we could take this video and run it as an ad in front of people that are similar. And in 1 week, for $500, we got over 11,000 users for their app. They were blown away. It was the best promotion that they had seen. They hired me to do multiple additional promotions. And then they called me up one day and they said, hey, Aleric, we want you to drop out of college, fly out here to Silicon Valley. This was like a performance marketing company that had several apps under their belt and different things that they were promoting. Fly out here to Silicon Valley, join our company. You can head up our YouTube ads division. Now, at the time when they called me for this, I was a freshman in college, and obviously it was a little tempting. It was very tempting, but I decided, like, I think, you can resonate with Ed. I think a lot of people who are watching or listening to this can resonate. I didn't want to be the knight in somebody else's castle, even if it starts out as a bigger castle. I wanted to be the king of my own castle. I wanted to build this myself. And so I turned it down. I actually turned down 3 times that offer. And from there, I started doing YouTube ads for mobile apps, drove millions of downloads, leveraged the connections that I had already had. I then discovered the world of, online marketing, and I was already kind of doing that online, but like ClickFunnels and, landing pages and, people who are, actually collecting leads online more than just mobile apps. And so I kind of got into this whole new world. I started running YouTube ads for, different companies, right? Whether, people who are, consultants or, selling a course, or people who are real estate agents or, insurance brokers, all kinds of different industries. And I realized, wow, I can actually help with YouTube ads for a much broader base. And so, about 4 years ago, I kind of pivoted over to ad outreach. I've been doing it for 5 years, but that's when I pivoted from apps to ad outreach. And now today we help train companies in how to use YouTube ads and video marketing to get consistent leads and sales. We've scaled it up. We have a fantastic team. We're out here in Austin, Texas, and grown the team to about 45 people, and we're continuing to grow and scale. So that's kind of what got me to where I am today, and how I started out early, and I've built things from there.
Well, and along the way, I mean, things that you didn't expect it was going to take off. You didn't think certain things was going to happen, and you just did it. And that's what I think a lot of people fear is in this time, they don't want to, one of the reasons I do the show is because people don't like making mistakes. You need to make mistakes. You need to go forward. You need to do that kind of stuff. No other, I tell people when you do a podcast and you have people on, sometimes they just talk. And then they keep going, right? They have a lot of stuff to talk about, and you can't get a word in. I'm not saying that about you right now, but you have passion of what you do, and that's what's great. And you get that across, and you need that because that's what you want to do. And you want to build your own company and everything so let's go back to ad outreach. Yes. A friend of mine actually, talked to you guys about helping him because he's been trying to grow his YouTube channel there in Vegas, and he's going to call you guys back and actually sign up, which the guy he was talking to was like, most people probably say, I'll call you back, and they never call you back. I'm in sales. I've been in sales for 22 years. I own a mortgage company that still sells. And most of the time when people say, they're not going to come back, they never come back. So I understand that. So with today, besides putting your content, because you just said you put the content and then now you cut up that content into ads, right? Same kind of stuff that you kind of do across some of the social media too, that you can do, right? So what's the best way to do that? And again, I'm a babe in the woods here. So basically you can walk me through the best way to explain this.
Okay? Yeah, absolutely. So what I found is there are 3 big components to a high converting YouTube ad that's going to drive consistent leads, consistent sales, have people actually want to take action and excited to, work with your business, work with your company, like take action from you. And those 3 components are a hook where you pull people in. I'm going to break down all these in a second, a little bit more. A hook where you pull people in, educate where you provide genuine value to the viewers in the ad. That's one of the big things that people get wrong. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And a call to action, a clear and concise call to action that takes them off of that video ad and onto whatever that next step is. Now that might be booking a call with you. So for instance, from your mortgage company, that might be booking a call to, talk about a mortgage for either new property or refinance, whatever it is, or it might be a form for them to fill out where, they got to put in, the details of the property they want to buy, all the, different qualifications, or it could be something else. Maybe it's a PDF or a video talking about the pitfalls, things to avoid, things to do, when you're looking for a new mortgage, whatever it is, right? And obviously for any business, I'm using yourself as an example, but whatever it is,
please do so I can use it later. So please
exactly. You're sending people off. And so one of the big things that you want to do is you want to have a hook. And so we're going to go back through this. So hook, educate, call to action. Those are the 3 big components. Your video should be about, usually what you want to have it be about 2 to 3 minutes long. Is the length that we like to go for. So a lot of people do too short. They do 30 seconds, 60 seconds. On YouTube, you can go a little bit longer. You also don't want to go too long, 5, 6, 7 minutes. Like that can get a little bit long, right? We found the sweet spot about 2 to 3 minutes. The educate portion is a little bit longer. So you might have a 30-second hook, a 30-second outro, and then anywhere from 1 minute to 2 minutes in the educate. That's typically what we'll do. So the hook pulls people in. You actually want to test a few different hooks. We'll talk about that in a second. What you want to do is there's a few different types of hooks. You could have a problem solution hook. So if they have a certain problem, showing that you'll have a solution. You could have a curiosity hook that gets them interested, right? You can have a bold statement. So one of the ones that I've used, right, is, in terms of a bold statement is YouTube ads beat Facebook ads every time. Let's face it, lead costs are going through the roof. And even when you have a great ad, they're almost impossible to scale. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the blue ocean of YouTube ads and why they convert better than Facebook. Let's dive in. And then I get to the educate. So you can see how that's a bold statement. Also has a little bit of a curiosity, right? It's like, okay, let's prove that statement that YouTube ads beat Facebook ads. I've had other hooks in the past, which is, along the lines of, what if you could ethically hijack your competitors' traffic and send it directly into your own funnel? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do with targeted YouTube video ads. And then I dive into the educate. Right? So that's a little bit of curiosity. So on your side, when you're going into the mortgage area, you want to think about, what is an area that people either don't understand, or a big problem that they have. A good example as well is people that think that there's only one number for their mortgage. Right. And so we work with mortgage brokers in the past that are more brokers. Right. And I'm not sure if this is how your business works.
That's how I am, because I don't have to say no. Plus my costs are so much lower. It's just the best way to, I've been it all. I've been a banker. I've been a mortgage broker. I've been a lender. I prefer this side of it because it's just so much cheaper for people. But I'll get off my soapbox.
Which is great. And that's what you need to do in your ad. So what you could say in your ad, and by the way, we've got copywriters on our team that just, dive into, and then this is how it works. So what I do on the fly is not going to be anywhere near, but you could do something along the lines of asking people, right? Of basically asking people, did you know that when you're applying for a mortgage, it's not just one number, right? That you can get. You could actually, there are numerous different rates depending on the bank you go with, depending on, how you input your information, depending on a variety of different factors. And so if you're only working with a bank that finds just one number for you, you could be missing out on saving XYZ percentage on your mortgage. In this video, I want to talk about why it's so important to work with a mortgage broker instead of just a bank, and how you can use that to actually save yourself on your mortgage rates. And then you dive into the difference between a mortgage broker and a bank, right? Another way.
Hold on, before you keep going. All right. So what you just did was probably almost 3 minutes. And you said your ad shouldn't be no longer than 2 to 3 minutes.
Well, actually, it might feel like 3 minutes, but that's probably closer to about 30 seconds.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, but that's what you're saying is that part of what you just said is your hook, right? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then the educate is what you say, and then at the end, the call to action. So it seemed like it went for a little while, right? I didn't check the time, but it just seemed like, so what you're saying is all that as the hook, then you're going to get educate for just say 2 minutes. And then you're going to have a 30-second out for call to action. Okay.
Exactly. That may have been closer to 30 seconds to a minute. I don't think it was the full 3 minutes from that, but along those lines, right? And obviously you can get it much more succinct than that as well. And the other thing that you could say is if you're just getting one quote on your mortgage, or not one quote, because you don't want to say that, if you're just getting one rate for your mortgage, or if you're only working with a bank, you could be missing out on the best rate because banks only look at one number. You want to work with a broker that looks at a variety of numbers. Let's dive into what that actually looks like. And then what you can do is you can educate, you can provide value. You can say, okay, so now I'm going to walk you through exactly how this process works. And so then what you do is you basically get into the educate. This is where you're teaching somebody that banks, because they're the bank themselves and they're not looking to, lend with a variety of different institutions or, broker the way that you are, right? They're only looking at your one number versus working with somebody who's actually able to look at a variety of different banks and find the best one for them, right? And so you can educate them in a way that's actually pretty quick. It's not going to take that long, right? So you can educate them and maybe illustrate it. Maybe there's a whiteboard behind you. Maybe there's something that pops up on the screen, but you're now teaching somebody something and you're giving them the aha moment. Because I also know that was an aha moment for myself as well, is learning that, wait a second, you can work with, because I've got some, real estate investment properties, things like that. The average person isn't thinking about the fact that if you go to your bank and ask for a mortgage versus go to a broker, that there's a difference. People think that they have one interest rate. So if you, in your ad, can educate somebody, first, capture their attention by saying, did you know that there's different, interest rates that you can, you don't just have one interest rate for your mortgage. And if you're only working with your bank, you're only getting one number versus working with a broker, you can get a variety. Let me show you why this works. The bank is going to tell you what their rate is. But if you work with a mortgage broker, they're going to actually be able to look at all of the different banks. And one bank might offer this percentage, and another bank might offer this one, and that one. And you can say, and then also getting the, first time home buyer, all these different things. and figure out what the best rate for you is. And instead of having you have to do all that work yourself, what if you could have someone help you do that for you? And all you have to do is click, and then you get into the call to action, right? So you have that educate where you're providing value, you're showing them that. Then you have a call to action to pull them off of the video and to say, okay, now that you've seen the value of a mortgage broker, what I'd like to do is actually invite you to schedule a call and have us help you find the best rate, right? And then diving in from there. And then you're going to map out, okay, here's how to do it. Here's to book a call or fill out this form, whatever that next step is.
Right. See, our biggest problem in our industry is these companies who make it a commodity that we deal with, and they tell you, I'm not going to mention names, but you push this button and it takes off, right? We'll just say that, like that thing behind you, thing behind you on your wall.
Yeah.
All right. So the problem is people put I was talking to the brand doctor about this on something else, and how they put in the garbage, they put wrong information. And I had a client who came to me, the agent referred me and said if I could get any more money for him to buy a bigger house. And when I got his information, I found out he's using overtime, and he hasn't had overtime for 2 years, and you have to have overtime for 2 years in order to use it. So when he qualified with that company and with the app, he put that information in there and got qualified for a certain number. He didn't qualify for that. He qualified for the number way down here. So that's what needs to get educated with people when they do that is they don't look at that stuff, right? They won't even verify a lot of that stuff until it's too late.
Yeah. And the other thing you could say too is that you could actually take that angle as the hook. And I always recommend doing a few different hooks. We'll talk about that in a second. But if you're using an online mortgage site, you're going to lose money and pay more in interest than if you work with a mortgage broker to get multiple quotes. Let me show you exactly why that's the case. And then you're going to dive in. There's probably a better way to frame it that makes it feel a little bit more solid. But a great example is in the insurance space. We work with somebody who is doing life insurance with living benefits, and the hook that we had for them was this was the hook. This is one of my favorites. This is one that I actually personally wrote. Is your life insurance really death insurance? What happens if you get in a serious accident but don't die? Nothing. Why should you have to choose between your own life and the financial stability and the financial future of your family? In this video, we're going to talk about life insurance with living benefits and how you can ensure that if you are seriously injured but don't die, your family is taken care of. And then it dives into the benefit of life insurance with living benefits. So it's the same thing. Obviously, that type of thing is where we spend a lot of time building that out. Obviously, me hopping on here, kind of doing this on the fly. But if you create a hook that's hard hitting like that, or like mine, YouTube ads beat Facebook ads, lead cost, let's face it, lead cost rise, like something that really hits hard, you could do the same thing with online mortgage broker sites, right? It is going to cost you a tremendous amount of money in the long run. And then if you reach somebody the minute they're kind of thinking about, and maybe they've put their info in, or they're going to put their info in, you reach them while they're interested in a mortgage or interested in refinancing or whatever it is, then you're going to essentially wake them up. It's going to be a massive pattern interrupt, right? Because they say, wait a second, I was about to do that, and now I'm finding out that I'm going to lose money. Right. And then you educate them, and then they trust you. Right. And then they have the call to action from there.
Well, it's funny is because this is just reminding me of direct mail. Because everything old is new. It's the same stuff, right? You're just putting in a different thing. The hook, the educate, basically you have the hook that get them to read the thing, and then what you're trying to talk to them, and then how call today, blah, 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 right? Basically on the old direct mail. And basically that's what you're doing, the same thing, but now you're doing video. And I try to explain to people marketing and all this kind of stuff in different channels is the same thing, but you just do it in a different way and how you're presenting it. Now you're doing a video acting. You're now the actor. You don't hire the actor, right? It's you and whatever you're doing, because people want to know you. And a lot of people go, I don't want to be in front of the camera because I don't like how I look. Well, it's like, we already know how you look. We see every day. So just get in front of the camera. So
exactly. And people love that authenticity. I think that is absolutely what's going to sell it for you as well, because I mean, think about all of these, like you said, the online, mortgage sites or whatever, like, it's all like, it's too corporate. It's too, it doesn't have, somebody going to bat for you. But I am going to find you the best rate, not just go with whatever, companies given the most kickbacks, whatever, banks given the most, which is what these online, online sites.
Well, we can't say that.
Well, okay. Yeah. But anyway,
and then nobody gets paid off a rate anymore. We get paid off a loan amount.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. So basically, talking about the site versus this and the benefit that it's going to have.
Right.
Obviously, within the guidelines. When I talk with real estate people too, they're like, "Yeah, you just be careful. You can't like on the actual property side. They're like, yeah, you can't say that, or like target. Some of the things we like to do, like targeting high income people. They're like, yeah, we can't do it. I'm like, okay. But
you can. You just have to be careful how you do it.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, you can always get a cease and desist, and then change what you're doing. I did my best work back in the 90s when I would get letters from the Department of Real Estate that says this is showing this, and this, and then I would make the change, and it actually was better than because of that. So I always tell people, push the envelope, get the letter, because it's better to ask forgiveness than permission. And then you can always, as long as you change it, nothing's going to happen. If you don't change it, then something could happen. So push the envelope. So.
Gotcha. Exactly.
All right. So we got the hook, the educate, and the call to action, right?
Exactly. Hook, educate, call to action. So the educate, you're providing value. That's where you have that genuine connection. You're pulling people in. And then the call to action at the end is to get them off that video to take action. Like you said, like old, direct response, like, hey, pick up the phone, dial this. Now for this, obviously, usually what we're doing is we're either sending people off to a phone call, so a scheduler, or we're sending them to a video, or maybe explain more, or, a lead form, where they're filling out their information, what they're looking for. So whatever that next step is that they're, inputting their information or booking a call or taking action, you want to make it very simple. Here's exactly what to do and what you're going to get. I'm going to hop on a call with you to help you find the best rate, to help you, or maybe you can't say that, but like to help you, you actually work with you instead of just having it be a kind of an online black box. I want to help you find the best rate or whatever you're allowed to say. So,
well, basically, I get it. I totally understand, because the one thing people don't realize is the lowest rate out there could be the most expensive rate of your life, and you have to be careful with that. Yeah.
Ooh, that's a hook right there. Did you know the lowest mortgage rate out there could be the most expensive rate of your life, and you have to be careful about that. Let's dive into exactly why that's the case, and then you just completely reframe people. People are going to pay attention in that video. See,
I think I'm going to have to edit that out so that no other mortgage broker can take that from me. I'm just kidding.
You just exclude all mortgage brokers in your targeting, in your ad targeting. But that's exactly that. So you want to, and that's one of the things that we didn't do like a full. One of the things our copywriters do on our team is we kind of have an exploration. It's like, what are the things that people don't know, and they probably get to you saying that line, and they say that's your hook,
right?
Or at least one of your hooks that you can test. We like to test, 3, 4, 5 hooks. Just to see what works. The educate's usually going to be, well, in that case, the educate might be slightly different, but we're going to test, 3, 4, 5 hooks, because you never know exactly what's going to land to the market, right? So you might test that, you might test the other one, a few different variations.
All right. So if you're doing this, you guys help us through the process. And so you teach us how to do that, right? You help us get through that process and go through and how to create it and what the educated part is. Because basically what we're saying is it almost like, because every video you do, you need to have a hook, your education, and a call to action anyway, but it's just longer. But you've shortened whatever you're doing into an ad. And where do these we can get in more, but where do these ads sit?
Yes. So these are going to be on YouTube. So you upload them as YouTube videos, but unlisted YouTube videos. So they're not findable by search or publicly on your channel, but they're unlisted videos that you can then run as an ad on YouTube. So you upload them. There's a little, option to upload them as unlisted. And then we're going to put those into Google Ads, which Google owns YouTube. So you put them into Google Ads, you set up a YouTube ad. And then the next part that we can dive into is all about targeting the right person at the right time with the right message. That's your ad. So now the next part is the right person at the right time, which we can dive into if you'd like, and kind of.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I'm sorry. We're not over today at 30 minutes. We'll keep going. All right. And that's how we say Yeah, let's keep going because this is important stuff.
Yeah.
Because what you're talking about is how people can grow what they're trying to do, so they don't go have Edison moments. As you know, this is plan how to focus out there, because a lot of changes that happen. I mean, Facebook ads aren't working like they used to work, like you said, because of what has happened with Google and everything else. And so it's important to be able to do multiple things and multiple avenues so you can have this. But what you're teaching us here, I'm talking about what you're doing with YouTube, you could do that on any social media channel too, right? And it might not be able to do the ad part, but you could make sure that you have your hook, your educate, and your call to action in every video you do. And even on my lives now, since I've been saw you at Steve Sims' place, it's like, hello, you know what I mean? You get so used to just talking and doing stuff, and you totally forget, hey, you still have to have a hook, you still have to educate, and this is what I want you to do at the end, right? Kind of stuff. So.
Exactly. And that it just goes into so many different, whether, it'd be like you said, a conversation or, speaking on stage, or an ad like we're talking about here, or even just a video you organically, upload, whether it be to YouTube or to Facebook or to Instagram or even, TikTok or whatever, video platform you're using, or even a text post or an email. It's going to have that. You're going to pull people in, right? In an email, it'd be your subject line that educates the body of the email. The call to action is the link at the bottom.
Right.
It's like, hook, educate, call to action is the formula. It's like you said, direct response had this back, in the past with mailers, and it's the exact same thing. And so now the second part, though, is how do you get that video in front of the right person at the right time? And that is where YouTube really shines, when you know how to target them the right way. So you can target not just who somebody is, right, which is you're used to on Facebook, targeting who somebody is, but also what they're watching right now. So what you could do is you could target somebody, and Google has all of these parameters. It's crazy. Google owns YouTube, so you can do it in the Google Ads, platform, right? They have all of these parameters about what somebody is searching. So they know what people are searching. They know people are searching or visiting websites because they own Google Chrome, and they're, on Google Analytics, which is installed in the vast majority of sites. If you search up a website, you click on it. So Google knows everything you're doing. They know if you're shopping on Zillow. They know if you're, they read your Gmail. They know what you're saying.
Right. They know everything.
It's crazy. They know. And so they literally have a targeting option for people who are moving soon, people who are in the market for a home. Basically, if they're in the market for a home, they're in the market for a mortgage. And then you can also add you can create what's called custom audiences. So you can build a custom audience around refinancing if that's what you want as well on your side. Obviously, the exact same things apply for any business. So we're talking about mortgages because that's what you do. And it's a great example for anybody who's listening, but you can apply the exact same thing to whatever business you have, right? What's the action people are looking to take? Weight loss is another great example that I use too. Google knows if you're trying to lose weight, you're watching videos, you're trying to lose weight, you're Google searching how to do it, you're going on websites that are helping you with that, you're buying things, on Amazon for that, all these different things, right?
Right. So if you're using MyFitnessPal, if you're using, because you go online to put that information in, they know, and the people don't realize. And I tried to tell somebody last night, it's like they know when you're speeding too, especially when you're using their map. If you use a Google Maps, they know it's only you're supposed to get there in this time period. If you get there faster, they know you're speeding. So eventually, so will the police. So
exactly. I'm not exactly. That's the thing. It's interesting where we may be going with some of the different technology and stuff like that, and I can't necessarily comment on exactly what's going to happen there. But they're collecting a lot of data, and they may, and maybe not the police, maybe at some point, but I know that they use all of that data to feed ads to you. So they may be feeding, different types of insurance ads or different, like there's all kinds of crazy things that they're doing with every bit of data they have. And there's a reason Gmail's free. It's like, now is there a person reading your emails? No, but there's an algorithm reading your emails that's serving you all of this, serving you all of these ads. So all of the purchases that you make usually go back to your Gmail email addresses, right? So they know everything that you're buying. They can also, very accurately tell if you're the top percentage of household income earners. So like you said, again, we know there's some restrictions by industry, but again, you wait for the letter, whatever it is. I'm not going to advise that or not, but you could do top 10%, top 20% household income earners, right? And Google knows very accurately, honestly, in a scary way, who are higher income earners and who aren't. And so if you have a higher end, offering that you have, or you want to cater to higher end clientele, you can reach the right people by doing that. And so you're now targeting who somebody is, right, with what they're watching and what they're doing, right? So you can actually target based on the video. So that's all who somebody is. But now let's say they're watching a video about, maybe it's about mortgages or about homes, or they're watching home tour videos or videos about moving. Or again, maybe you don't really care as much video they're watching about, as long as you know they're moving and they're in the income bracket, you could target in front of any video. So there's all of these different elements that you could target on Google to reach the right person at the right time. You want to target, in your case, somebody who's moving. Maybe they're watching videos related to real estate or related to moving, or you just know strong enough that the fact that they're moving is really important. Same thing with weight loss. Target in front of people who are watching exercise videos, right? Videos showing them, proper exercise, proper nutrition, and things like that. And then run your ad in front of that video and show them how what you have with your hook, with your educate, with your call to action is going to help them get that result faster that they're looking for.
So you can do it by age too, right?
Oh yeah.
Because in my industry, the average age for somebody to start their family and buy their first home is 31 years old.
Mm-hmm. So you can target that exact age, exactly.
Right, and on both sides of it, because sometimes people do a little bit earlier, some people do a bit later, and that's one of the issues we're having right now with the fact that we don't have enough inventory, because we have such a huge birth rate expansion right now of that period of time where we're in the third year of a 10-year expansion, and it's so hard to get people in houses. And so it's important to have the right information. And I don't mean to take this off the real estate side, but it's so important to be able to go for that, because when we used to do direct mail, we couldn't figure out the interest rate. We could figure out when they kind of bought, kind of when the interest rate was, and we could do parameters on each side. But it sounds to me like now with the YouTube ads, you can get so much further in there. Have they put, because with us, on our stuff with certain things, they're like, you can't go that way. You can't check somebody you can't exclude certain things. Is that how it is with Google? I'm sorry, with YouTube ads?
So it depends, because sometimes they do limit based on industry. If they know, real estate and mortgage, if they have equal, housing, acts and things like that. So again, it is going to depend. I also am not as versed into that area. We have people on our team who are really good and understand that, ad strategists that specifically work with real estate, mortgage, and insurance, where there's a little bit more like restrictions and things like that. But in terms of that overall, yes, you can target based on age, based on household income, based on parental status, somebody's a parent or not a parent. There's a variety of different like demographics you could target. I mean, one of the Google demographics, I'm not sure if this is the best for targeting houses, but just to show you how in the weeds you can get, you could target parents of kids of a specific age. Crazy, right? Parents of kids, parents who have kids between 3 and 5. It's like, wow, you can really get granular with the targeting that you have. But even if you might have some restrictions on demographics just because of some of those restrictions, you can absolutely target the people who are moving soon or in the market for a new home, right? All of those different targeting options. That's more based around intent, maybe a little bit less on the demographics. But where you are able to layer the two of those together, that's where you can really pinpoint the perfect person.
Wow. I mean, it's like, why are we doing anything else?
Exactly.
It's just like, I mean, because, you hear about, and I'm sorry, and that's why I said in the beginning, it's almost a detriment. There's so much out there because it's like overwhelming. Steve tells us to get on every single social media site, grab your name because you never know. Well, you do all that and then you're on YouTube, but you're not doing the ads, and you should have been doing the ads and not everything else in the first place.
Exactly.
I'm not trying to sell your business, but that's basically you're in a good market. And it's funny because, things things that I grew up with and things that we had, I did real well on the phone because that's where I came from. And I sold by the phone for 18 years. I know the tones and inflections in people's voices. I can talk to them. Plus I don't have a bad voice when you talk to me on the phone. So I do real well where somebody else wouldn't. But now you can do so much. There's so much you can do now that we couldn't do back then that, but you still need to know sales. You still need to know the hook, the educate, and the call to action, which a lot of people forget to do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. I mean, important to put content, have a lot of content, but then it's important to actually go to the next step and actually do something with that content, because you can have a ton of content. I have a ton of content, and I get threatened that all I do is create content. Well, that's why I hire people to cut it up and do other things with it, because I like making content. I enjoy doing these podcasts, having people tell their story, helping people get through that. And so now that you told us all this, what else are we missing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the big thing that people miss is, well, to go back, and we talked a lot about this, the educate portion, and then also targeting people based on intent. So what are they actually doing? So some people who maybe haven't heard this or aren't diving into this, they might just target that, you said the age, right? They might just target people, 31 to 60 or whatever. But there's so much more of that moving soon. People who are actually in the market for a home. Then you combine that with making sure that your video actually provides value. I think a lot of people forget to provide value on the ads. And then the other thing that I think a lot of people, are missing or don't do is they don't really go in and optimize and test and learn. So, obviously when you set this up, usually you're going to get the targeting pretty dialed in. You're going to get the video, it's got the right components, and you're going to get leads coming through. And a lot of people just stop there. But as you know, I mean, it's all about, it's like the Inner Edison. You always want to constantly test new versions of the light bulb until you get the exact one that you want, right? It's one of those things with your ads as well. So we're always trying to beat the control. You have a new campaign that you test. You've got those videos, you've got the targeting, but remember, we filmed multiple hooks. We're testing multiple types of targeting. So we want to find that winning campaign. We want to cut what doesn't work. We always want to try and beat that control, because every so often, then we beat the control here. And then, we test, it's not working. It says on par. And then you get another one that beats the control, and then that goes away, and you're basically building yourself up. I'm a huge believer. And I honestly really think that I call this the entrepreneur's mindset, a marketer's mindset, probably very similar to what you're talking about here. You might have another name for it, but it's basically where you either succeed, you have a success, a win, or you learn, right? And that you can call that a failure, you can call it learning lesson.
No, it's learning. You're either winning or learning. That's all it is.
Exactly.
No failure. Yeah.
Exactly. So I always like to look at that. Exactly. You're always winning or you're learning, and then that's going to help you win even more in the future. And that's the exact same thing with your ads, with your targeting. And so I think the other thing is somebody might hear all of this, go and set this up, and then just take whatever results they get the first try that they have, but never try and beat that control. Never try and actually, test a variety of things to learn what works, what doesn't work, and then build on what works to make it even better.
Wow. Now, if somebody wants to because you guys teach people how to do this,
Yes.
So how do they get in contact with you guys to find, get going if they want to talk to you and see what they can do?
Absolutely.
Now, I have one more question before we get into that.
Yes.
So you teach, but do you guys also handle, or you just teach?
So we have a done together process. So it's not just teaching. It's not just a course. So a lot of people out there, they see, where they just have a course. And the problem with that is nobody's actually helping you hands-on implement this. Now, we do have a masterclass that covers, our overall strategy. But what I really love to do, and our core offering, is our done together process. We also, there's other people that have like agencies, and kind of hand it all over to them. But we've found that doesn't provide the best results either, because then there's not any collaboration. There's not working with the company, right? You know your business best. So we want to help you and work together, right? And actually walk you through this process, have our copywriters help you write the scripts, have our team help you set up the campaigns, but also showing you how this works and working with you to identify, what are those best hooks? What, is the targeting that we should have in the ads, showing you how to do this long-term so you have it as an asset in your business. So it's a done together process. And that's what we found works the best. And so it's working together to implement this. And honestly, we've seen that provides the best results.
So how do they reach out to you?
Absolutely. So you can go to our website, which is adoutreach.com. It's ADOUTREACH.com. You'll see a variety of different links there. One of those is to our brand new webinar that we have. Actually, we just created our 2022 edition of our YouTube ad strategy. It's adoutreach.com /YouTube or YouTube and then the little dash line webinar. That'll be on adoutreach.com as well. And that kind of dives into our latest strategy, free webinar to kind of dive into exactly how you can use YouTube ads to scale.
Well, no, I just, I knew I've been waiting for it since we talked in Austin to have you on, and I'm glad you finally came on, because there was you go to these events that Steve throws on, you have no idea who's coming, and he always produces people of caliber, and even the people in the audience, there's a lot of people in there that knew a lot of different things. But I mean, you guys on stage was just amazing because this is my thing now, is YouTube is big for me, even though I should have done it years ago, but you can't go back. You just focus on going forward. Right. And the only reason I started doing it is because I do a radio show, and we would videotape the radio show, and then I would put it on YouTube so people could see it afterwards. Because I'm trying to grab this from this one area and put it somewhere else, right? And now we do a lot of other stuff. So it's important to do everything you possibly can to be successful today.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else we need to go over before we go?
Absolutely. I think that's everything, and I'm excited to. I'm glad I was able to share on here. This has been absolutely fantastic. So I really do appreciate you having me on, Ed, and I'm excited to see people diving into video. It's just such an amazing opportunity. And right now it really is a blue ocean to explore. So I'm excited.
So all right. So I'm sorry, we were about ready to go, but now you had to say that blue ocean, right?
Yes.
So where are we? So if you look at the infancy and where we're at with this whole thing, where would you say the life cycle of this is right now with the,
I would honestly still say that YouTube ads and YouTube marketing is a blue ocean right now, whereas Facebook is, I would say it's a red ocean. Like, looking at Facebook ads, right? What we've seen is there's so much cutthroat competition. Ad costs are rising. iOS 14 and 15 have made campaigns not perform anywhere near where they used to. And what we're seeing is, with decreased performance becomes more desperation, becomes more competition, becomes more people, the bigger budgets are then squeezing out other people. And what we're seeing on YouTube is, because it has video, it's backed by Google, which has, far more data points than what Facebook has, just because of its reach, right? Its infrastructure and its first party data. So Google has first party data about you, not just relying on its network. So that's the problem, is like, iOS 14, 15, that impacts all the apps that are feeding back data, all the things on your phone. And that's because Facebook's just one app, versus Google has Gmail, has Google search itself, has Chrome, Chrome's browser, has Google Analytics. It has all of this initial data that Google is collecting about you, right? That allows you to target the right people. And combine that with targeting people who are watching specific videos on YouTube. It's a really blue ocean right now, because not a lot of people are doing it. There is a higher barrier of entry with video, but nobody said everything is going to be easy to do. And it's not actually that hard. All you need, your iPhone these days literally records in 4K. It records in 4K. So you get a tool, it's called a gimbal. If you go on Amazon, you can get this, it's like $120 tool. It's called a gimbal. And yeah, you might have one right there. Perfect. Yep. Perfect.
And it also has the remote.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Exactly. And so it'll stabilize your phone, or allow you to put your phone up like that. And you just record your phone or with your camera with a gimbal, and you basically have a 4K high quality video that feels natural, feels authentic, that you can put on YouTube. So there is a little bit of a barrier to entry, because, it's not the same as just throwing up an image like you can on Facebook, but you do that step, it's going to feel more authentic. It's going to convert better, and it gets you into the world of running YouTube ads, which not as many people are capitalizing on right now. Look at your mortgage industry that we talked about, right? Now, 3 years ago, maybe definitely 5 years ago, not that many mortgage people were running on Facebook. You would have been, that would have been a blue ocean for you. But today is when people are just now getting it. Like, everybody's getting into Facebook, and everybody's doing, and not just now. So they were just now getting into it in the past, but now everybody's getting into Facebook. Versus how many mortgage people are on YouTube running YouTube ads right now? Not as many. It's a blue ocean for somebody like you, somebody who's listening. It's the same thing across industries, right? And obviously that's always going to change. Here's the thing. I know that Google and YouTube, and especially YouTube ads, are going to convert long term. But right now, not only do I know that YouTube's a better platform than Facebook, even if the competition was the same, I know YouTube would beat out Facebook just because it's a video first platform. You could target people based on intent. There's way more targeting options in Google than there are on Facebook. So even if the competition was the same, YouTube beats out Facebook, but the competition's not the same, right? It's more like this because YouTube has far less people who are advertising on it than Facebook. And so that's why you see just this tremendous difference in terms of the results. Far better results on YouTube versus Facebook because you have two things going for it. Overall, it's a better platform to advertise on. And then in addition to that, you also have less competition right now on YouTube. Although that part isn't going to happen forever. So that's why you want to move and be one of those first movers into YouTube.
Right. And you also, it's a search engine too on top of that. So,
exactly.
Right. The more things,
it's second largest. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the one thing about the remote is now you don't have to do this and then edit it. Right. You just go boop and start talking and you're good. It just takes one extra step out. So it's so much easier for you to do what you want to do. And I like to do things as easy as possible, least amount of editing needed, because we do so much content, we do so many different things. It's important to make it easy for me. Otherwise, it doesn't get done. Aleric, thank you so much for coming on today. It was amazing. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure I'm going to have questions, and I'm definitely going to be reaching out to you to have you guys help us. I should say help me. But anyway.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ed. This was absolutely fantastic, and I really had a lot of fun on this.
Good. Appreciate it. And if you're listening to this, you're watching this, let us know if you like it. Please, if you like this, just follow and let us know what else we can do for you. All right. And thank you so much, sir. You have a great day.